They shoved him against the ice machine, laughing as the old man dropped his mop. "Clean that, janitor," one of the thugs jeered, but none of them noticed the biker on pump 3, helmet off, jaw tightening, watching every second. When he finally stepped forward, the laughter died. Before we start the story, tell us wherever you're watching from. Tell us in the comments, what touched you most in this story? The Sundown fuel stop sat on the outskirts of Cedar Flats, a quiet desert town where tumbleweeds rolled more often than cars. At 10:47 p.m., the place was nearly empty, just flickering neon, buzzing moths, and the lonely rhythm of an old janitor scrubbing spilled soda from cracked concrete. Elias Ward, 63, stooped and gentle, worked the night shift to pay for his wife's medical bills. His hands were rough, his back stiff, but he greeted every traveler with soft eyes and a warm "evening, friend." Tonight, 3 strangers pulled up in a beat-up sedan, loud, restless, carrying the kind of energy that made the air tighten. They spotted Elias immediately. "Look at this guy," the tallest one snickered. "Must have been cleaning floors since the Civil War." Elias pretended not to hear, focusing on the mop, but they approached anyway. Too close, too aggressive. One kicked the bucket, sending dirty water splashing across his boots. "Oops," the second laughed. "Clean up on aisle anywhere you are." Elias swallowed hard, murmuring, "Please, don't do this." But their smirks widened. Across the lot, pump 3 clicked off. A motorcycle engine settled, and someone turned to watch. Ronan Brickfallon, patched member of the Hells Angels Iron Summit Charter, had stopped only for gas and a cold drink. He wasn't looking for trouble, not tonight, not after a long ride across 2 counties. But when the laughter sharpened and the mocking turned ugly, he looked up from the pump. Ronan noticed everything. The mop knocked over, the splash of water, the old man's trembling hands. He also noticed the 3 thugs, barely out of their 20s, fueled by cheap beer and cheaper pride. Elias stepped back instinctively, shoulders curling inward. "Leave me be," he whispered. The leader grabbed his shirt collar. "What are you gonna do? Mop us to death?" His friends howled. Ronan set the nozzle back in place with slow precision. His boots hit the concrete. Each step toward them was measured, quiet, controlled. "Hey!" he called. The thugs turned, irritation flickering into confusion. They hadn't seen him, hadn't seen the cut, the ink, the stance of a man who'd fought more battles than they'd imagined. Ronan tilted his head. "You boys lost." The leader scoffed. "Mind your business." Ronan's voice dropped. "This is my business." And the temperature of the night changed. The tallest thug squared up, puffing his chest, trying to reclaim the confidence that evaporated under Ronan's stare. "What, you some kind of hero?" he sneered. "No," Ronan answered simply. "Just someone who doesn't like cowards." The insult hit its mark. The thug stepped forward, jabbing a finger at Ronan's vest. "What's this supposed to scare me? Biker boy." Ronan didn't blink. "If you're scared, that's on you." Elias, shaken, tried to intervene. "Please, don't fight over me. Just let them go." Ronan shook his head. "They're not walking until they understand something." He stepped closer to the thug, close enough to lower his voice. "You pick on someone your own size. You leave elders alone. And you never disrespect a working man." The thug scoffed, but his eyes wavered. "And if we don't?" Ronan's expression didn't change. "Then you deal with me." The second thug shifted nervously. "Let's just bounce, man." But the leader shoved him. "No, I ain't backing down from some biker." Ronan exhaled slowly, cracking his knuckles. "Bad call." Before fists flew, the store door swung open. The gas station attendant, Jamie Rivers, a college kid with big glasses and bigger nerves, poked his head out. "Everything okay out?" He froze at the scene. Elias trembling, thugs squaring up, Ronan standing like a storm about to form. Oh, okay. I'll just call someone, Jamie stammered, backing inside. Elias winced. No police. Please. I can't afford more trouble. Ronan didn't look away from the leader. No cops, he agreed. Just a conversation. The leader laughed wildly. You think 3 on 1 scares us? Ronan smirked slightly. No. I think it scares you. The punch came fast. A sloppy swing meant more to impress than to land. Ronan sidestepped effortlessly, catching the thug's wrist and twisting until the guy yelped and dropped to his knees. The second stepped forward. Ronan blocked, swept his leg, and sent him sprawling. The third froze entirely. Your turn, Ronan asked. The guy shook his head violently. Nope. I'm good. Elias stared in shock, not at the efficiency of Ronan's movements, but at how careful he was not to harm them more than necessary. It wasn't violence. It was protection. Grant, or whatever his name actually was, scrambled back, clutching his arm, humiliation burning hot across his face. This ain't over, he snarled. Ronan stepped forward, casting a long shadow. It is for tonight. Grant's friends tugged at him, muttering, Let's go, man. Seriously, let's just go. The 3 piled into their dented sedan, spitting gravel as they peeled out of the lot. Silence settled. Elias breathed out shakily, bending to retrieve his mop with trembling fingers. Thank you, he murmured, voice cracking. Didn't want trouble. Just trying to finish my shift. Ronan crouched, helping him gather the scattered supplies. You didn't start trouble, he said. They brought it. Elias studied him. A biker with scars, a heavy vest, hands that knew both damage and gentleness. Most folks don't step in anymore, he whispered. Ronan shrugged. Most folks don't know what it's like to feel small. Elias swallowed, emotion tightening his throat. Can I offer you a coffee? It's all I got. Ronan nodded once. I'll take it. As they walked toward the convenience store, the old janitor moved a little straighter, because someone had finally stood up for him. Inside the convenience store, the hum of fluorescent lights felt strangely comforting after the chaos outside. Elias poured coffee with shaking hands, spilling a little on the counter. Sorry, he murmured, reaching for napkins. Ronan gently stopped him. Take a breath first. Elias nodded, inhaling shakily. Jamie, the young cashier, hovered nearby, staring at Ronan with wide eyes. Dude, he whispered. That was like some movie stuff out there. Ronan ignored the comment, focusing instead on Elias. They been bothering you before tonight? Elias hesitated. Couple times. They come in, knock things around, laugh. I try not to make waves. Ronan's jaw tightened. Bullies don't need waves. They need targets. Elias sighed. I just clean floors. Nobody listens when I complain. Ronan took his coffee, voice low. I listened. Elias's eyes glistened. Jamie, emboldened by the biker's calmness, stepped closer. I sent the security footage to my manager. They'll ban those jerks for sure. Elias blinked. You did. Yeah, and I'm calling corporate too. For a moment Elias looked overwhelmed by help, by kindness, by the sudden weight of being defended. Ronan clapped him gently on the shoulder. You're not alone tonight. Elias walked Ronan back toward the pumps, sipping his steaming coffee. The night air turned cooler, the desert wind stirring dust around their feet. I don't understand, Elias said softly. Why would a man like you step in for someone like me? Ronan leaned against his bike, taking a long breath before answering. Because I grew up watching my old man get pushed around, he said. Men with sharp tongues. Men who thought being cruel made them strong. Elias looked up. And you? I swore I'd never walk past someone else getting treated the same. Elias nodded slowly, understanding more in Ronan's quiet tone than in the words themselves. Your dad? Was he rough? Ronan shrugged. Not rough, just broken. And sometimes broken men break other people. Elias swallowed, relating more than he wished to. Before Ronan could say more, a car with dark-tinted windows rolled slowly past the pumps. Not the same sedan, but the kind that made instincts spark. Ronan's hand drifted to the small of his back, where he kept a defensive knife holstered. The car didn't stop, but the glare felt deliberate. Ronan straightened. He'd seen that kind of circling before. Trouble wasn't finished yet. Elias noticed Ronan's posture shift. Someone you know? He asked quietly. Ronan shook his head. Just someone watching. Elias's throat tightened. Those boys, they knew others. Gang types. Gang talk. Ronan frowned. They locals? Not exactly. They drift. Come through every couple months. Always trouble. Ronan filed it away. Some guys didn't cut their losses, they multiplied them. Jamie stepped outside, holding a bag of trash. Hey. Someone was in here earlier asking if we got cameras on the pumps. Weird dude. Hoodie pulled low. Didn't buy anything. Ronan's expression darkened. When? 10 minutes before you walked in. Elias exhaled shakily. Maybe they're connected. Ronan scanned the dim edges of the lot. The flickering neon sign. The dark road stretching toward nowhere. The abandoned billboard offering faded directions to a defunct motel. Let me walk you to your car, Ronan said. Elias laughed weakly. I take the bus. Then I'll wait with you. Elias wanted to protest. Pride, embarrassment, habit. But something in Ronan's calm certainty stopped him. Thank you, he said instead. Ronan nodded. Doesn't cost much to look out for someone. But sometimes he knew it cost everything if you didn't. The bus stop sat beneath a crooked street lamp, its light flickering like a heartbeat. Ronan stood beside Elias, arms crossed, gaze sweeping the darkness. Elias rubbed his hands together, breath turning visible in the cooling air. My wife, Marjorie. She's homesick, he said quietly. I work nights so I can be with her during the day. Ronan listened without interrupting. She doesn't know about those thugs. Didn't want to scare her. Ronan nodded. You were protecting her. Elias smiled faintly. Trying to. A rusted pickup cruised by slowly, music thumping from rattling speakers. Ronan watched its taillights fade. How long's she been sick? 3 years. Medical bills don't stop when you retire. Ronan's jaw tightened. He knew that truth too well. Want me to ride behind the bus? He asked. Elias blinked. Behind it. Make sure no one follows you home. Elias felt tears prick unexpectedly. Son, I don't know what I did to deserve your kindness. Ronan shifted uncomfortably. Don't gotta deserve it. At that moment, the beat-up sedan from earlier whipped around the corner, screeched to a stop in front of the station, and 3 familiar figures spilled out. They weren't done. Not even close. Get behind me, Ronan ordered, voice calm but ironclad. Elias obeyed instantly, gripping his mop handle like a lifeline. The thugs spilled out of the car, stumbling but fueled by humiliation and cheap fury. Think you can embarrass us? The leader roared. Think you can make us look weak? Ronan didn't move. You did that yourselves. The second thug hurled a bottle. Ronan ducked, glass shattering against the bus stop sign. Elias flinched. The leader stepped forward, brandishing a rusted tire iron. Round 2, biker. Ronan cracked his neck. Nah. Round done. He stepped forward, intercepting the swing, twisting the thug's wrist until the metal clattered to the ground. The second came at him from behind. Ronan spun, elbow connecting sharply with his sternum. The third froze again, hands shaking. We didn't know who you were, he cried. You don't gotta know, Ronan growled. Just gotta learn. Headlights washed across the scene, the bus arriving. Startled, the thugs scrambled back into their sedan and sped off into the night. Elias exhaled like he'd been underwater. Ronan glanced at the bus driver. "He's with me." The driver nodded. Elias whispered, voice shaking, "You saved my life." Ronan shook his head. "Just gave you back your dignity." Elias boarded the bus slowly, turning back as if afraid Ronan might disappear the moment he wasn't looking. Ronan stepped on right behind him, ignoring the confused stares from late-night commuters. The driver raised a brow. "You riding?" "Yeah," Ronan replied. "Just making sure he gets home safe." Elias sat near the front, hands folded tightly, shoulders still trembling from adrenaline. As the bus jerked forward, Ronan sat beside him. Not looming, not crowding, just present in a way Elias hadn't experienced from anyone in years. "They won't be back tonight," Ronan said. "But tomorrow," Elias swallowed. "Tomorrow I'll be here again. Same shift, same route." Ronan studied him, the tired lines of a man who never got to be tired, who cleaned other people's messes while carrying hurts of his own. "Why doesn't management protect you?" Elias blinked. "Son, they barely know my name." Ronan exhaled slowly. "They should." Elias's smile was fragile. "People look at me and see a nobody." Ronan shook his head. "No, they just don't look long enough." Elias turned to the window, eyes shining. For the first time, he wondered if someone finally had. The bus rattled down the dim streets of Cedar Flats, passing shuttered shops and motels with flickering vacancy signs. Elias cleared his throat. "Ronan, what you did back there, that wasn't just stepping in." Ronan looked over. "Felt like the right thing." Elias hesitated. "You fight like someone who's had practice." Ronan gave a half-smirk. "Life teaches lessons. Some loud, some painful." Elias studied him. "You've been on the wrong end of trouble before." Ronan didn't deny it, only looked out the window. "There was a time I kept my head down, let people stomp on me, until I joined the club. Taught me strength doesn't mean hurting people. It means knowing when to stand." Elias nodded thoughtfully. "My father was like that," he murmured. "Quiet, gentle, strong." His voice cracked. "I was never like him." Ronan turned. "You're stronger than you think." Elias shook his head. "No, I never stood up for myself. Never stood up for Marjorie when her sister pushed her around. Never stood—" "Stop," Ronan said firmly. "You stood tonight. You asked for help. That's strength." Elias blinked, taken aback. "Never looked at it that way." Ronan answered, "Most people don't." The bus rolled into Elias's neighborhood, an older part of town with sagging porches and soft yellow porch lights. Elias tugged the cord for the stop. "This is me." Ronan rose with him. The driver spoke quietly. "You want me to wait a minute? Just in case." Ronan nodded. "Appreciate it." They stepped off. Elias's small, weathered home sat under a walnut tree, its branches swaying in the breeze. A dim lamp glowed through the front window. "Marjorie's awake," Elias murmured. "She worries when I'm late." He hesitated at the bottom of the steps. "How do I tell her what happened?" Ronan softened. "You tell her the truth, and you tell her you're safe." Elias nodded slowly, pressing a shaky hand to the railing. "Will you walk me to the door?" Ronan didn't hesitate. "Yeah." They approached the porch, wooden boards creaking beneath their feet. Elias unlocked the door, and a frail woman with silver hair peeked out. Her eyes widened when she saw Ronan, broad, tattooed, leather-clad. "Elias, who is—" "A friend," Elias whispered. "One who kept me safe." Marjorie's gaze softened instantly. "Then come in, please." Inside, the house smelled of chamomile tea and old books. Marjorie moved slowly but gracefully, guiding Elias to a chair. "You're shaking," she scolded gently. "What happened?" Elias looked at Ronan, searching for courage. Ronan gave a small nod. Elias exhaled. "Some boys, troublemakers. They cornered me at work, mocked me, shoved me. Marjorie's face tightened with fear and anger. Elias? It's all right, he said softly, taking her hand. Ronan stopped them. She turned to the biker. Thank you. Truly. Ronan shifted, uncomfortable under her gratitude. Anyone would've. No, Marjorie replied firmly. Not anyone. Elias cleared his throat. Those boys. They might come back. Marjorie's fingers gripped his. We can't live in fear. Ronan stepped forward slightly. You won't. I'll swing by tomorrow night, just to keep an eye out. Elias blinked. You'd do that. Ronan shrugged. You're good people. The world needs more of that. Marjorie's eyes softened. You remind me of our son. Elias stiffened. Ronan paused. Your son. Elias nodded, pain flickering in his eyes. We lost him. 5 years ago. Car wreck. Ronan swallowed. Something inside him shifted, recognizing grief he'd buried long ago. Elias reached for a framed photo on the side table. It showed a young man in his 20s, smiling strong, holding up a freshly painted model airplane. His name was Caleb, Elias said softly. Smart kid. Big heart. Marjorie added. He used to help people all the time. Just like you did tonight. Ronan stared at the photo longer than he meant to. Caleb's eyes held the same warmth, the same quiet bravery Ronan saw in Elias. I'm sorry for your loss, Ronan murmured. Elias nodded. We get by. But nights like this, it hits hard. Ronan exhaled. I had a brother once, he said quietly, surprising even himself. Not by blood, by life. Lost him too. Elias's eyes warmed with recognition. 2 men from different worlds, connected by the same invisible scar. Marjorie placed her hand over Ronan's. Then you know. Ronan nodded. Yeah, I know. A long silence settled, gentle, not heavy. Finally, Elias stood. Ronan, thank you again. I mean it. Ronan placed his helmet under his arm. Get some rest. I'll be back tomorrow. Elias smiled slightly. You're welcome here anytime. As Ronan stepped into the night, he felt something shift. An old wound easing, a new purpose forming. Ronan started his bike but didn't ride off immediately. Something in his gut, an instinct honed by years of reading rooms, roads, and people, told him the night wasn't finished with him yet. As he lingered at the curb, a dark sedan crept around the corner and paused half a block down. Same sedan from the station. Same tinted windows. Ronan's jaw hardened. He shut off the engine, waiting, watching. After a tense minute, the sedan rolled forward slowly, almost testing whether the house belonged to someone protected. Ronan stepped into the headlights deliberately, standing tall, shoulders squared, expression carved from stone. The sedan stopped cold. Inside, shapes shifted. Recognition? Fear? Then the driver peeled away with squealing tires. Ronan memorized the license plate with one glance. Cowards, he muttered. He walked back to the house and knocked softly. Elias opened the door immediately, worry etched into every line of his face. Everything all right? Ronan nodded. For now. But those boys? They're not done. Elias swallowed. What do we do? Ronan tightened his gloves. Tonight you rest. Tomorrow I bring the club. Marjorie exhaled with relief. Thank you. Ronan answered quietly. You're not alone. The next evening, Elias returned to his shift with Ronan waiting in the lot, leaning against his Harley like a silent sentinel. But Ronan wasn't alone. 2 more angels arrived shortly after Jax, Timber Rourke and Silas North Danner. Both solid men with calm eyes and steady posture. Elias nearly dropped his mop. You brought friends. Brought family, Ronan corrected. They're here to watch your back while you work. Elias blinked hard, overwhelmed. No one has ever done something like this for me. Timber winked. We heard about the punks who think bullying a janitor makes them tough. Thought we'd redefine their understanding. Elias laughed softly, something he hadn't done in days. As he resumed cleaning, the angels posted themselves around the lot, casual but alert. Customers who usually ignored him now greeted him with respect, sensing the shift. Even Jamie seemed different, standing taller behind the counter. Hours passed quietly until the familiar beat-up sedan returned, inching into the lot with slowed confidence. The thugs spotted the 3 leather vests and froze. Timber stepped forward just a hair, expression mild but unmistakably dangerous. The sedan reversed so fast it nearly hit a trash bin. Elias exhaled shakily. "You weren't kidding," he murmured. Ronan smirked. "Told you. Family protects family." Word spread fast around Cedar Flats. Within 2 days, the same thugs who swaggered through the station now wouldn't step foot within 3 blocks of it. Regular customers noticed. A trucker nodded to Elias, adding a generous tip. A local teacher stopped to thank him for keeping the station clean. Jamie even taped a handwritten sign behind the counter. "Respect the staff or get lost." Elias stared at it, deeply moved. "Jamie, you didn't have to." "Yeah," Jamie cut in. "Actually, I did." Meanwhile, the angels kept rotating shifts. Never imposing, never loud, just quietly present. Ronan checked in on Marjorie during the day, carrying groceries, fixing a porch light, replacing a loose railing. "You don't have to be our caretaker," Marjorie told him one morning. Ronan shrugged. "Not caretaking, just being decent." Elias overheard and smiled, the kind of smile that held gratitude too big for words. But just when life seemed to settle, Sheriff Hayes arrived at the station. "Ronan," he said grimly, "we caught the thugs, but they weren't working alone." Ronan stiffened. "Who's behind them?" Hayes lowered his voice. "A local crew, and they're planning to retaliate." The ground shifted again. The sheriff's warning wasn't theoretical, it was a countdown. By dusk, the angels were already preparing. Timber checked the parking lot lights. North installed a cheap but effective camera above the pump canopy. Ronan inspected the edges of the property, noting blind spots and cover points. Elias felt guilt twist in his stomach. "I didn't mean to bring trouble to your door," he whispered. Ronan placed both hands on his shoulders. "You didn't bring trouble. Trouble found the wrong man to mess with. We're here by choice." Elias's eyes glistened. "I'm not used to being chosen." Ronan's voice softened. "Get used to it." At midnight, a pair of motorcycles roared into the lot. Men Elias didn't recognize. Not angels. Not friendly. They parked without turning off the engines. One sneered. "Heard this old guy thinks he's untouchable now." "That right?" Elias froze. For a moment he looked small again, like the man who'd been pushed against the ice machine. But Ronan stepped forward, blocking the view. "You got business with him?" "Yeah." The biker spat. "We do." Timber and North flanked Ronan without a word. The newcomers realized they weren't facing one man, they were facing a brotherhood. The 2 rival bikers exchanged glances, realizing the numbers weren't in their favor. Ronan stayed perfectly still, voice quiet but edged with warning. "You want to take a swing at someone? Swing at me, but you leave Elias out of it." The taller rival laughed nervously. "We're just delivering a message. Then deliver it and leave." The man hesitated before muttering. "He embarrassed the wrong people." Ronan smirked. "No, those people embarrassed themselves." North stepped closer. 30 seconds to get off this property." Timber cracked his knuckles. 20. The men scrambled onto their bikes and sped off without another word. Elias sagged in relief. Ronan turned to him. "You good?" Elias nodded shakily. I think so." Ronan rested a hand on his shoulder. "They won't be back." Elias' voice trembled. "How can you be sure?" Ronan looked him square in the eyes. Because they finally learned something those thugs never understood. Elias blinked. What's that? Ronan smiled faintly. You're not the man who stands alone in the shadows anymore. Elias swallowed hard. Thanks to you. Ronan shook his head. Thanks to you standing up. Finally. Beside someone who's got your back. Elias wiped a tear. Then, thank you for having it. Ronan nodded once. Always. If the story moved you, stay with us. Hit like, subscribe, and ring the bell to ride along with more tales of loyalty, courage, and unexpected heroes. Every share helps these stories reach someone who might need them.